Downtown Indianapolis is electric. Thousands have attended a concert outdoors at Monument Circle, and 60,000 inside now in the RCA Dome, where they have unfurled the championship banner. The Indianapolis Colts Super Bowl 41 champs. Last season started perfectly, 9-0, but they faded down the stretch. The defense was porous. They finished 3-4, but in the playoffs, Adam Vinatieri kicked 5 field goals to account for all the scoring in a win over the Ravens. Then a comeback for the ages over New England, leading to the Super Bowl. And a rainy Sunday and a championship ride for Tony Dungy and for Peyton Manning as they beat the Chicago Bears to win Super Bowl 41. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Andrea Kramer. Welcome to Indianapolis and the start of the 2007 NFL season with a tremendous matchup. The Colts, of course, finally got over that hump. Peyton Manning finally got over the individual hump. This team has been so successful for so many seasons, 50-14 over the last 4 regular years. However, every year seemingly an agonizing playoff defeat ended Indianapolis's hopes. Not so last year. And John, one of the things they did, I think last year, they proved they can win in both fashions during the playoffs. We know they can score, Manning and Harrison and all the rest, but they won a couple of games defensively last year. What's their best chance to beat New Orleans tonight?
You know, their best chance is the same thing. I mean, they're about offense. They're about Peyton Manning. They're about throwing to Marvin Harrison, to Reggie Wayne, to Dallas Clark. Joseph Adai running the ball now, I think, is going to be a lot bigger. They have a very good offensive line, and I think if they can get a little help from the defense, they'll be okay. But to say that this is going to be a defensive team, no way. This is all about offense.
Should be a very high-scoring game. Now, the Saints, of course, last year, best story in all of sports. Sean Payton, the rookie coach, became Coach of the Year. They revived a city that had been devastated by Hurricane Katrina, inspired an entire country, in fact. Drew Brees and Reggie Bush, and they came up 1 game short of going to the Super Bowl, losing to Chicago in the NFC Championship game. Brees led the league in passing yardage. They had the #1 offense. They have almost everybody back, no key free agency losses. So how does New Orleans, John, take that next step now?
I think they just look at the Indianapolis Colts and say, look how they did it last year, and we'll do it the same way. I mean, they're also about offense. Or, you know, Drew Brees can play almost a perfect game sometimes. And then, you know, they have the running backs, they have the wide receivers, pretty good offensive line. Not championship defense, but like I said, the Colts taught them last year, you don't need championship defense. To me, tonight, the defenses can take a back seat in this one. This is going to be about passing, about offense, about wide open stuff.
What a night it should be. We almost had this matchup in the Super Bowl. We'll have it tonight. New Orleans against Indianapolis. Drew Brees, Peyton Manning. The season begins. Mare, longtime Dolphin kicker. And Miami decided to go in another direction, traded him to the Saints. T.J. Rushing, who is a defensive back, played his college football at Stanford, to run the kick back. So the 2007 season getting underway, a Thursday night game, a full complement of games on Sunday. Cincinnati-Baltimore on Monday. Sean Payton, in his 2nd season, came over after he was the passing game coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys. Tony Dungy, now in his 6th season with the Colts after 6 years at Tampa Bay. And Tony has been to the playoffs in each of the last 8 seasons. The 2007 campaign is underway with a deflected kick that's fielded at about the 10-yard line by Luke Lawton, the backup running back to Joseph Adai, and the Indianapolis offense coming out onto the field.
Peyton Manning, Tennessee.
Joseph Adai, Louisiana State.
Reggie Wayne, VU. Marvin Harrison, Syracuse.
Dallas Clark, University of Iowa. Ben Utek, Minnesota.
Tony Hugo, Arkansas.
Ryan Lilja, Kansas State. Jeff Saturday, North Carolina.
Jake Scott, University of Idaho.
Ryan Dean, Northern Illinois.
For years, and again this year, the Colts play a no-huddle offense. They start from the 32-yard line. No huddle doesn't mean necessarily hurry up. Peyton Manning oftentimes takes a lot of time at the line of scrimmage, and they start with play action here. And the line does its job, and the pass underneath is incomplete. Good coverage right there as he tried to hit Joseph Adai, and Adai is still down. And this is huge because the Indianapolis Colts have really no quality backup for him. Dominique Rhodes left and went to Oakland, and then Dede Dorsey was a veteran who they cut last week, and the only other guys behind him right now are Kenton Keith and Luke Lawton, neither of whom has carried the ball in an NFL game. What a start to the season, John.
You know, that was the thing that I was talking about before the game, that this is a very dangerous thing just going into the season with only 3 running backs, and as you say, 2 of them haven't had an NFL carry. I would expect we'd see Kenton Keith, and here he is. He's number 36 here. Now, he played in Canada. He played in Saskatchewan, so he does have a little pro experience. But I'll tell you, with this offense and the way they play, we're talking about no huddle, calling the plays on the line of scrimmage, all these things, this guy is not ready to play in this game.
And that sums it up. Adai, a rookie last year, 226 rush attempts. Keith, as John said, from Canada. Lawton had a cup of coffee with the Jets, but did not rush the ball once. And, I mean, apart from Peyton Manning going down on the first play of the game, this is about the scariest scenario for this crowd. But Adai now gets up. Manning checks him out. And the way he looks right there, we should see him back in the game fairly soon.
Yeah, and he's very important to Peyton Manning because he's his check down guy. You know, Peyton Manning can look deep for his wide receivers or Dallas Clark. Then if he doesn't have anything, if the coverage goes off, he comes back to Joseph Adai, and he's become very, very big in that area.
So Kenton Keith, who figured to spend just about the whole night on the bench, is in on the second play of the game. And on 2nd and 10, they run a stretch play with him to the outside, and his initial NFL carry is pretty good, about 8 yards, and he followed the new rookie left tackle Tony Hugo, and that's a huge story in itself with the retirement of Tariq Glenn, the left tackle.
You know, and this is what they call the stretch play. They're going to run. You take the back, and he runs right to the outside of the numbers. The quarterback has to get out there, get the ball to him. He does, and he does very well. Now, you talk about the block. There's Tony Hugo. He's leading, number 67 now.
Officially a 7-yard gain on Keith's first run. 3rd down and 3. Trips to the right. Harrison goes in motion next to Wayne, and you get Walt Anderson blowing the whistle for the first time.
That's something you don't see the Colts do a lot of. They ended up in a bunch formation.
Number 67, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
That's the rookie Hugo.
And he has a tough job out there because he's playing against a Pro Bowler and Will Smith. And you have to get up there. You don't have a chance to huddle. When you look out there and you have one of the top pass rushers in the game right here in Will Smith. Now, the thing that they can do is they can put the tight end on his side and help him out a little, and that's what they're doing on this play.
3rd down and 8 from the 34-yard line. Manning stepping up and stepping to his right and then throwing, and the pass is incomplete. The coverage by McKenzie. The pass intended for Marvin Harrison. And so the Colts 3 and out on their first possession.
And you watch a rookie, Tony Hugo here. He does a pretty good job. Again, I think by having the tight end on that side, that puts a defensive end, Will Smith, out another man. Will Smith is not a speed rusher as much as he is a bull rusher, and Tony Hugo took it on pretty well that last play.
Reggie Bush is going to run punts back this year. He did some punt returning last year. In fact, he probably did about 60% of it, but may do even more this season. Hunter Smith descended Bush's way. And the electric one fields at the 19, stumbles for a moment, and then gets corralled by the swarming Colt coverage unit. Matt Giordano is there at the 18-yard line, and let's take a look at the New Orleans offense.
Drew Brees, Boilermaker.
Deuce McAllister, University of Mississippi.
Mike Carney, Arizona State.
Marcus Colson, Hofstra University.
Denver Henderson, LSU.
Eric Johnson, Yale University.
Jamal Brown, University of Oklahoma.
Jamar Nesbitt, South Carolina.
Jeff Faye, Notre Dame.
Jari Evans, Bloomsburg University.
John Stinchcomb, Georgia.
Drew Brees, Boilermaker. He's a Texan who played his college ball not far from here at West Lafayette, at Purdue. Led the league in passing yardage last season. Co-man of the year with LaDainian Tomlinson. And they start by giving the ball to Deuce McAllister, who does about 65% of the rushing, and Bush does most of the rest, and Bob Sanders comes up to make the tackle.
You know, when you were talking about the Colt defense and how they got better and when they got better is when they have this guy. Bob Sanders is a safety. He could be back 10, 12, 15 yards, the ball is a run, he can get up to the line of scrimmage as quickly as the ball carrier can get there. That is amazing. A lot of times he's up on the line of scrimmage, but he can get up there equally as well when he's off the line of scrimmage.
Now they've got Bush in the backfield. Sometimes you see Bush, sometimes McAllister, sometimes both. And this is Bush taking it to the 25-yard line. Reggie stopped there. Let's take a look at the Indianapolis D.
Robert Mathis, Alabama A&M.
Raheem Brock, Temple.
Ed Johnson, Detroit Crockett Tech.
White Freeney, Syracuse University. Rob Morris, BYU.
Gary Brackett, Rocky. Freddie Keaho, San Diego State. Trevor Hayden, University of Illinois. Bob Sanders, Iowa.
Antoine Bethel, Howard University.
Marlon Jackson, Michigan.
Two new starting corners, new outside linebacker, new defensive tackle for him. Bush and McAllister both in the game as Breeze goes over the middle, complete to Marcus Colston, one of the great finds in last year's draft. 7th-round pick. That's the last round out of Hofstra. Comes off a season in which he caught 70 passes.
You know, and that's the big thing. You know, Colston is such a big target. And the great thing that Drew Brees does is find a passing lane. I mean, he had a lane to the left because he says he has to push for vision. You see him push for the vision right there because he's not, you know, he's only 6 foot tall, so he's not going to throw over a lot of people.
Fake toss to McAllister, and the pass is caught. This is their new tight end, Eric Johnson, who's been playing with San Francisco over the last 6 years, but he'd missed 2 of them with injuries. So they picked him up, and they want to get their tight ends to do a little bit more of the receiving this year, and he's the perfect guy to do it for them.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy. In fact, they only signed him to a 1-year contract because he has to prove to them that he can stay healthy the whole year.
2nd down and 4 at the 41-yard line. Bush is the running back. There's Henderson in motion. They set up a screen. This is Reggie Bush, who won the Heisman at USC 2 years ago. And Reggie was seeking the 1st down. Then Kelvin Hayden came up, and he was able to knock him back to the 44-yard line. Let's get the update on Joseph Adai from Andrea Kramer. Andrea.
Well, hey, Al, I'm actually standing behind Joseph Adai, who's sitting on the bench. He's not getting any kind of treatment. The doctors were touching his ribs and back area on the left side, just examining him. The Colts are giving us no information, but he was smiling and laughing as he was sitting with Kenton Keith, but no update for now.
Took that shot from Mike McKenzie on the very first play from scrimmage in the game. It's 3rd down and 1. That's Bush split to the left. He goes in motion. McAllister is the running back. They're going to give it to Bush on the end around. They used this with great effectiveness last year, and he is into Indianapolis territory, and it's one of the things, whistle sounds before he lost the ball, John, that they can do it. They can use Reggie in so many different ways, and when they put him in the same backfield or in the same offensive unit with McAllister, Peyton can do a million things with these guys.
Right, and then, you know, how do you play that backside? See, when he comes back like this, that end has to hold. If he doesn't hold, if he starts to pursue, then they just hand the ball to Reggie Bush. And then if he wants to hang out there, then they can run the ball inside. Good block by Marcus Colston. Wide receivers today in the NFL have to block.
That was a 9-yard gain. Now Deuce McAllister picks up about 2. Rob Morris, the one-time #1 draft pick back in 2000 out of Brigham Young, makes the tackle. And Morris earned a starting job back last year, John, after he'd started for a few years. But for Indianapolis, it's pretty much the same offense outside of the left tackle, but the defense has undergone a pretty good transformation.
Right, and Rob Morris is a good story. I mean, he was a #1 draft choice, played middle linebacker, got beat out, Colts waived him. They kind of hung in there. They brought him back as a backup. At the end of the season, they needed him as a strong backer, and he's played very well for him.
2nd down and 8. And the pass is caught here by Devery Henderson, who doesn't catch very many short passes. Last year, he averaged 23 yards of reception. Tackled there by Marlon Jackson. Last year, #1 in total offense, which is yards per game, 391. #1 in passing. And it's the first time in the 40-year history of the Saints they led the league in either category.
And this is a big down for the Saints because they talk about the big thing in this game is offensive time of possession. and you have to pick up third down.
3rd and 3, and they give it to McAllister, and he finds the opening behind a Mike Carney block. Carney, number 44, the fullback, and the guy, the last time we had him on a Sunday night, he scored 3 touchdowns against Dallas, the only 3 touchdowns in a 47-game career.
And here he is, and that's what you do in the I formation. You need a lead blocker and that fullback, and that's what Carney does. And you know, he gets that block there, and then Deuce McAllister can run right off it. That's the thing that Sean Payton was saying, that he wants to stay away. You know, he doesn't want to get in a rut of running Deuce inside and running Reggie Bush outside all the time.
Bush in the slot this time, going down the sideline, and Brees gets hit as he throws and undershoots him. It'll be 2nd down and 10 on a drive on which the Saints have now converted 3 for 3 on 3rd down.
You know, and that's big in that time of possession thing we were talking about. It was interesting. Sean Payton said last night, you know, he said, I wouldn't be surprised in this game if Drew Brees went 28 for 31. And you can see the way, you know, the calmness in the pocket. He's getting pretty good pass protection, and Drew Brees will eat up his zone.
That was Brees' first incomplete pass on 2nd and 10. They run a draw. Deuce McAllister to the 31-yard line. So can they convert on 3rd down again? They're 3 for 3 to this point. See if they can do it for a 4th time. Freddie Keaho makes the stop. He's number 54 and becomes a starter this year with Cato June leaving for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think at some point here the Colts have to go pressure defense. They're going dime or 6 defensive backs, and I think, you know, if they get another 1st down here, I mean, they're very close to field goal range now here. Down here, you know, at some point you have to bring some pressure, and the Colts are not a big pressure defense.
3rd down and 6. They run a stun up front, and it's Reggie Bush who gets taken down. Raheem Brock smells it perfectly, busts through, and a 6-year tackle out of Temple stops the Saints.
And maybe the Saints expected some pressure there because, you know, that's really not a running down. I think they figured, okay, we're going to catch him in a blitz, or we're going to catch him in a dime. 6 defensive backs, and we'll pop a run in there. Raheem Brock said, hey, no way.
Orlando Murray, 10 years with the Dolphins. His first kick as a Saint will be a 52-yard attempt. Under the roof. The kick is certainly long enough. He has a tremendous leg, but it's wide to the left. And of course, what you do in a situation like that, if you miss a field goal from that distance, you give the Colts good field position. We'll check out a die and the Colts when we come back. The Colts have played here since they came from Baltimore in '84. Next year, moved across the street to New Digs. A die is back in the game after getting shaken up on the first play of the game, and Manning hands the ball right to him for a gain of a couple. A die last year is the guy who came in, and he was under a lot of pressure because for years they'd had Edgerrin James, who was so brilliant. Edgerrin left for a better contract at Arizona. They pick up a die as a 1st-round pick out of LSU, and he had a marvelous season, John.
Well, he did, and the thing that he picked up is a passing game. You know, when you play for the Colts and you're going to be Peyton Manning's running back, you have to be able to pass protect, and you have to be able to get out and pass pattern.
Short drop, quick flip. That's Reggie Wayne. Let's take a look quickly at the Saints defense before 3rd down.
Charles Grant, Georgia.
Kendrick Clancy, Ole Miss.
Antoine Lake, West Virginia University.
Will Smith, The Ohio State.
Scott Fujita, Cal.
Mark Seminoff, Kansas State.
Scott Shanley, Nebraska.
Mike McKenzie, Miami Northern Senior High.
Roman Harper, Alabama.
Josh Bullock, Nebraska.
Jason David, Charter Oak High School.
Jason David with a championship ring from the Colts. He left the Colts after last season as a starting cornerback. Now starts for the Saints. 3rd down and 6. Manning throws, and that's their initial 1st down of the season to Dallas Clark, the tight end. Tight end sort of a name only because he flexes a lot, and Dallas Clark can almost be like a hybrid tight end wide receiver.
Yeah, that's what they do. They go 2 tight ends, but Clark really isn't the tight end. You'll see him, he lines up in the slot. And over the year, last year, he became, I think, towards the end of the season and in the postseason, he became their most valuable player. You see Tony Hugo there. He's having a little problem over there, but Peyton Manning does get rid of the ball quickly.
Guy swings to the outside of the short side of the field. He's tripped up at the 44-yard line by the defensive end, Charles Grant.
We were talking to Peyton Manning the other day about Joseph Adai, and he says, you know, the big thing about him is getting out in the pass pattern. He said, you know, everyone talks about you have to be able to block and you have to be able to run the pattern. He said, but you have to know when to get out. He said, some backs will stay in there and block. He said, I don't want him staying in there and block. I want him to get out so he becomes my check down and my outlet guy.
Second down and 9. Manning to Marvin Harrison. So the two guys each headed for the Hall of Fame connect for the first time this season. Marvin at the age of 35, still their primary guy along with Reggie Wayne. They have two great guys on the outside, plus Clark, plus a guy.
He just keeps on ticking, and he's all about quickness, and then he's going to run that slant, that short stuff in there, and then if you come up and start to press him or playing tight and don't have help over the top, he's going to go deep on you. One of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL because of the way he plays.
3rd and 1. They use a fullback in this set. That's Luke Lawton. Adai is the tailback, and behind Lawton goes Adai, and he picks up a first down. Goes to Adai to the 30-yard line, tackled there by Antoine Lake with under 3 minutes to play in a scoreless opening quarter on opening night.
Watch the center, Jeff Saturday here. He makes an excellent block here. You see, he goes to the right, drive, makes that hole that Adai goes through. Jeff Saturday played excellent in the Super Bowl. You know, I watched that film. I thought, you know, maybe he should have been the MVP. He dominated the Bears in that game.
9th year in the league. Manning's in his 10th. 2.5 to play in the first quarter as Adai takes it to the 27-yard line, tackled there by Scott Fujita.
It was all led, I think, by Jeff Saturday, but Ryan Lilja, the left guard, and Jake Scott, the right guard, played great in that Super Bowl. And that's what they did. What they're doing right here is what they did to the Bears in the Super Bowl, just pound the ball inside with these guys.
He is the center from Central Casting, isn't he?
Yep.
He and Hank Fraley, they are centers.
Jeff Saturday looks like he's gotten shorter in Stockton. Looks like he's had so many hits in there that they knocked a little height off.
Probably has. 2nd down and 6. Manning going to the end zone, and it is caught by Marvin Harrison for a touchdown. Marvin Harrison gets behind Jason David, and the two, of course, have matched up in practice for years here in Indianapolis. David goes to New Orleans and gets burned for Indy's first touchdown of the season.
Well, you know, we talked about that. They throw him the slant, and you think, okay, we got to watch out for that slant. We got to watch the short one, and then boom, they're going to go over the top to him, and that's exactly what they did to Marvin Harrison. Now, he usually lines up on the right side. This time, he lined up on the left side.
27-yard touchdown. Adam Vinatieri for the point after. So because of the missed 52-yard field goal, it's a short field for the Indianapolis Colts. And toward the end of the opening quarter, 7-0, world champion. 58 yards, 8 plays, 4 rushes, 4 passes, 107 touchdowns now. The combination of Manning and Harrison, most in the history of the NFL, 22 more than the old record holders, Steve Young and Jerry Rice. Lance Moore will run the kickoff back for the Saints, and Moore will take it back to the 21-yard line. The Saints last year with a record of 10-6, winning the NFC South. Best year in the franchise's history. They take over here. A minute and a half to play in the period. Colts on top 7-0 after the Marvin Harrison touchdown reception. Now from the 21-yard line, the Saints, who had 3 first downs on their opening drive, then got stopped. Murray missed a 52-yard field goal. This is their second drive. Reggie Bush will start as the running back in this set. Play fake to him as Reese throws, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Devery Henderson. And John, go back to the last series. Breeze had to change his contact lens because Dwight Freeney got inside and got inside his helmet.
That's it. He gets his left hand in there on Drew Brees' left eye and knocks the contact right out. You know, that's something. Referees right back there, and you think that he would have seen that. I mean, a blow to the head and a face mask, and there was a number of things they could have called on Sweeney on that one.
Second down and 10. McAllister is the running back. Left the play fake. To the tight end. This is Johnson, and he really gets popped. Eric Johnson makes his second catch. And you had Antoine Bethea, second-year safety out of Howard, who came in to give him a shot at the end.
Watch Freddie Keaho come in there, the new starter. He's a second-year guy, but he gets all over the place, and he's going to come and he's going to be right there. He got in there about third or fourth, but he brought a pretty good load when he came, 54.
Third down and 3. Breeze out of the shotgun. He loves to work out of the gun, and the pass is batted back into his hands. It's batted back, so it was a live ball, but he cannot pick up the first down. Raheem Brock got his hands on it. Brock made a big defensive play on the last series on a running play, and this time bats it right back to Breeze, and it's fourth down.
Right on that third down run, and here he comes. It was a stunt. It was a twist on Brock as a tackle. He started inside, went outside, and when he saw Breeze turn that way, he just put his hand up.
Steve Weatherford is the kicker. Good high angled kick that is fielded at the 18, and T.J. Rushing has nowhere to go but out of bounds. Back comes the Indy offense. 24 seconds to play in the quarter. 7-0 Colts. In the league this year, the captains of the teams, the permanent captains, can wear, it's up to the team itself, but they can wear that C logo. And of course, Manning has one in his 10th year here, and he starts this drive by handing the ball to Joseph Adai. And a guy who gave the crowd a very, very anxious moment early on when he was hurt in the first play of the game. None the worse for wear, up to the 25-yard line. And the Colts will let the clock tick down, and that will take us to the second quarter. Drew Brees on the bench. Indianapolis leads 7-0 after the first 15 minutes of the 2007 NFL season. This kickoff special resumes after coordinator. At the bottom is Howard Mudd, the offensive line coach, and of course with Peyton Manning. But these three have been together now for all of Peyton's decade in Indianapolis. And when you talk about Howard Mudd and his offensive line, one of the reasons Manning has that streak going is that line has done such a phenomenal job.
Right, and Peyton Manning was saying the other day, he said, you would think you'd worry about having a rookie left tackle. He said, but Howard Mudd there, I know that I will get protected.
Here's a dive on the second and short up to the 34-yard line. Peyton Manning, when you look at the fewest sacks per dropback in the history of the league, Dan Marino rarely got sacked. Doug Williams, 1 for every 31, and then Peyton Manning once every 30 dropbacks in his career, and that's about once per game. You throw around 30 passes a game, and on third down last year he was dropped only once all season, which is amazing.
Yeah, a lot of that is the protection, the offensive line, but a lot of that is Peyton Manning also in getting rid of the ball.
As it was with Marino from the 34-yard line. This is the dive, taking it up to the 43-yard line where he's tackled by Josh Bullock. But it's a good combo. You got a real smart quarterback, a quarterback who knows as much about how to play the game as anybody, an offensive line coached by those guys that they've had good people, and they keep Peyton away from trouble.
Well, you know what Tom Moore was saying about it the other day. He says that, being together so long, running the same offense with the same terminology and everything, he said within a game, if something changes, we know how to fix it.
Second and 2. This is a dive. Joseph Adai behind a Jake Scott block, the right guard, takes it across the 50 in the Saints territory, first down.
Right, and they're going to run the Saints right out of cover 2. I mean, that's the thing. If you want to play cover 1 or cover 3, they're going to throw to the outside receivers. If you're going to keep the safeties deep like that and play cover 2, they are going to run the middle line. And Joseph Adai is such a big part of what this Colt offense does, because if you want to cover, if you want to run everyone off, he'll run the ball out.
And then they're going to give it to Keith because Adai carried 4 straight plays. So Kenton Keith making his NFL debut tonight, tackled by Jason David.
Well, they found out that that they can do that, and You know, and Tom Moore talked about that too. That, you know, I don't want to get away from the run. I mean, sometimes we look and Peyton can do this. We have so many great wide receivers. He said, but if they want to take away all our receivers and give us the run, we'll just continue to take the run, and that's what they're doing right now.
Indianapolis, a fairly porous run defense last year. Meanwhile, Indianapolis was worst in the league against the run, but still wound up winning the Super Bowl because they got hot in the playoffs. 2nd down and 7. Keith again. Going to take it to the 42-yard line. Tackled there by Brian Young. Again, we mentioned at the top, last year Dominique Rhodes was the other running back. So Adai saw most of the ball carrying, but Rhodes played a very big part. They let Rhodes go, and as John talked about it at the beginning, a very dangerous situation where you have Adai and then behind him, no experience.
And I think if Adai can stay healthy and continue to take this load, he is going to become one of the top backs in this league because he has a perfect offense for it.
3rd down and 3. He's carried 8 times tonight. Manning will take this snap out of the gun. And the play clock down to 2. Peyton throwing to his left. That's caught and then dropped, and then it's picked up by Jason David, who takes it away from Reggie Wayne. And Jason David, who got burned on the Marvin Harrison touchdown, will run that in for a touchdown, assuming it holds up. There was no whistle. Wayne made the catch, lost it, no down by contact, and so what a night already for Jason David as he comes back to Indianapolis.
Right, and that's what you have to do as a corner. You have to have a short memory. There's Jason David right here on Reggie Wayne. You see, he takes away the slant. He jumps the slant. Then when he goes to tackle him, he puts his right hand in there and just strips the ball right out of Reggie Wayne. So see the right hand go in there, right there, around his waist, and knock the ball out. And sometimes receivers just catch the ball and go down now, and that's the reason, because, you know, the defensive players are getting so good at stripping.
Wayne had only 1 fumble all last year. Jason David, give it and take it. Laurie with the extra point, 7-7. 55-yard fumble return. Right in America to get you started at 7 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. A line drive pouncing kick will go through the end zone. Murray with a lot of touchbacks, but not normally looking like that. Manning and company back to work in the 20 after the David run back. Tie game. Well, John has to take the bus to Dallas. And so Willie, don't call me Cale Yarborough, took it out to the Indy Motor Speedway the other day just to warm it up a little bit.
Right, and that's what they wear when I sleep at night.
And the pass is incomplete with David covering Wayne again. So they go right back to Reggie Wayne. So he wears the helmet, but he doesn't wear a seatbelt. Willie, you better wear your seatbelt. From now
always
on
him for that.
Yeah.
This is a fun week. I mean, I just love the start of the season, you know, being here on Thursday night, and then right after the game, getting on the bus and going down to Dallas, and, you know, and having 2 games in 4 days. I think that's all great. You know, and start the season with a celebration, and I tell you, this is pretty good so far here tonight.
2nd and 10 with 11 and a half to play. And now they go back to the ground. And Adai picks up a couple. John, we talked about that Saint offense a lot. But again, you know, a lot of championships are won on the other side of the ball. And the Saint defense, they needed to protect against the deep ball. Last year, that was a major problem for them.
And one of the things they wanted to do is get a corner. That was the #1 thing, and that's where they got Jason David, who, you know, was beaten by Marvin Harrison earlier, and then, as you said, he'd take us back with a fumble recovery. But they still don't have a strong middle. You know, I think they need a bigger middle linebacker or a bigger defensive tackle that can dominate in there against the run.
On 3rd and 7, that pass is intended for their top draft choice. That's Anthony Gonzalez, who just came into the game. Will Smith, meanwhile, decked Manning. So Anthony Gonzalez out of Ohio State, picked in the 1st round. They put him in the slot. The pass to him is incomplete.
Let's watch Tony Hugo there against Will Smith. Again, Will Smith is a bull rusher, and I think Hugo has to drop his hips a little more, because when you accept that bull rush and you go 2 or 3 steps back, Will Smith's next step is on Peyton Manning.
And Brian Young had Peyton around the legs as well. So it's 4th down. Hunter Smith, who doesn't see much action. Of course, the Indy punter never does with that offense. Sends it down to Lance Moore. Moore, not Bush, returning this punt. And a good run back down the sideline he goes, and he's forced out near the 50-yard line by Rob Morris. So they can use Bush. They used him earlier. They can also use Moore. Lance Moore, 2nd-year guy out of Toledo, with a 30-yard return. The way this game started, Indianapolis wanted to turn the clock back. It looked like they might have lost a dive for the night, and maybe even more when he was shaken up on the first play, but he's been fine since. Meanwhile, New Orleans now, Reggie Bush in the game. He split him to the left. McAllister is the running back. They give it to Deuce. Over the 50, he goes to the 46-yard line. And John, when you look at Deuce McAllister, here's a guy gets hurt, has an operation. They draft Reggie Bush. He's got to think, hey, what's going on with my career? Meanwhile, had a great year last year and fits in perfectly with what Sean Payton's doing with him right now.
You know, and you can see why. I mean, that formation they call Pony, where they have both of them in there at the same time. They put Reggie Bush in motion. He goes out. Now the defense has to go out with him, and that opens a lot of holes inside for Deuce McAllister.
Tight roll and almost intercepted. Jumping the play was Bob Sanders, the strong safety coming up, intended for Marcus Colston. Terrific coverage and a near pick. It'll be 3rd down and 4.
You know, we know that 21 Bob Sanders is an excellent player against the run, but watch him against the pass here. I mean, he's on the slot. He looked like Troy Polamalu there. I mean, a guy that you think he's one place, you think he's on the slot, and no, he's on the wide receiver.
Only 5'8", a 206, and tough, and what a difference he makes with that defense. 3rd and 4, and they're going to give it to Stecker, Aaron Stecker, and he'll pick up the 1st down on the end around. So you've got Bush, you've got McAllister, and then they bring Stecker in, and while Indy's not looking, he picks up 13.
You know, and I think that's where they try and take advantage of Dwight Freeney, the defensive end. If you watch him, he's going to be here. Now he's going to come and he's going to spin there. See him spin to the inside. Now there's no contain out there, so Stecker is able to get a free soft corner.
Stecker, remember Tampa Bay's Super Bowl champions a few years ago, only carried the ball 4 times last year. Good special teams guy. 1st and 10. Breeze with that tight roll again. It's Colston, the 7th-round pick out of Hofstra last year, to the 30 for a gain of 3.
That's one thing that, you know, Tony Dungy loves in his defense is speed. I mean, he says you don't have to be the biggest guys, but you have to be the fastest, and you have to play the game with speed. And that time, on the tackle, he had about 7 blue jerseys. That's Tony Dungy football. Smaller, real fast, quick, good tacklers, cover 2, don't get beat deep.
Bush is the running back. Draw. Push through the middle. And Reggie will fight his way for a 1st down. Got stopped about a yard shy. Went in behind the guard, Jerry Evans. And Bush through the middle. He won't go there very often, but occasionally he will. And he does there with success. 1st down.
But I think that that's one of the things that he has to do, you know, is go inside. Now, not a lot. I mean, he's not going to pound things, but this is a delay or draw. And when you can get the defense to come off like that, you get the line penetrating, the linebackers dropping off. Reggie Bush will get that 1st down a lot.
McAllister is the running back. Carney's the fullback. Quick flip back to the right side. Henderson to the 19-yard line. Devery in his 4th year out of LSU. Tackled by Kelvin Hayden.
You know, it's interesting. One of the things that the Saints talked about is they needed a tight end, and they went out and got Eric Johnson, and we talked about him earlier. But this is the area where they talk about using him. You know, that we want a tight end, we want Eric Johnson for this red zone. The Saints are in the red zone now. Let's see if they use him.
2nd and 5 with McAllister in the backfield. Deuce to the 16-yard line. And that will set up a 3rd down and 3 as the clock ticks down to 7 minutes remaining in a quickly paced opening half, 7-7.
And we were talking about using Deuce McAllister and Reggie Bush in the same backfield, and you know the formation they call pony, but the Colts, when they do that, they play Reggie Bush like a wide receiver. So they go nickel or 5 defensive backs against him.
They have got Bush and Stecker in the game. Stecker on a wing to the left. Breeze moving Bush offset to the right. And on 3rd and 3, Breeze will sling it to Bush, and Reggie took his eye off it at the last instant and dropped it. Reggie Bush ready to turn upfield to pick up what he hoped would be the 1st down, and can't. It'll be 4th down, and Murray will try to give them the lead.
Didn't that play look like a mistake from the start, though? Yeah. I mean, they didn't get in the right formation. They looked like they didn't have the right play. Then, as you said, Reggie Bush, you know, didn't look that ball into his hand because he was trying to get his body turned, you know, to get that 1st down. He just left his hands behind him.
34-yard attempt. Murray missed earlier from 52. The longtime Dolphin in his 1st season as a Saint, and that kick is good. And the Saints have their 1st lead of the season. 10-7 New Orleans. 6:26 to the half. Tonight.
In a few hours. I mean, I act like I know how we go. Once we're gone 2 hours, I'm in bed asleep and I have no idea where we are.
It was a good guess, though. You will go close to Memphis, as that kick is taken 9 yards deep in the end zone by T.J. Rushing. Peyton Manning coming back out to lead the next Colts drive. 10-7 Saints on opening night. Dungy had been the coach of this team for 5 years. At the end of last season, it's the first time he'd gotten that Gatorade shower. That's about as sweet a moment as any coach can ever enjoy. John Madden knows what that feels like as they win Super Bowl 41. And there he is, also the author of the #1 bestseller on the New York Times nonfiction list this week, his new book, Quiet Strength. And that really sums up Tony Dungy. Quiet Strength.
That's who he is and what he is, and it's just a coach being himself.
4-yard gains for a dive. Let's go to Andrea.
Well, Tony Dungy understands that his winning the Super Bowl transcends sports. But he told me that the seminal moment when he realized that was when his daughter, Tiara, who just graduated Spelman College, told her that her professors at school said that they had witnessed many historical events. Martin Luther King being put in jail, African Americans gaining voting rights, and they equated Tony Dungy winning the Super Bowl with those monumental events.
Tony Dungy as a culmination as Reggie Wayne makes the catch and takes it first down. You know, we talk about Peyton Manning ending a lot of frustration, but for Tony too. And you know, he had a lot of success at Tampa, turned that team around, but they let him go because he couldn't get them to the mountaintop. And then finally, he, like Manning, gets there last year.
You know, and there was a time, you know, you talk about quiet strength. There was a time that he was criticized for not being emotional enough, not showing enough life, not getting mad at players and stuff. And that's why I say you have to be who you are. And I think that's what Tony Dungy proved, that, you know, I'm not a yeller and screamer, and, you know, I'm just Tony Dungy, and stay in yourself. That's what Tom Landry was. That's what Chuck Noll was. That's what Tony Dungy is.
Look at that. That is some list. Landry did it twice, going to the playoffs 8 straight years. Over one stretch there, Tom went 9 straight years. And when you look at Noll, Tony played for and coached under Chuck Noll, so he was one of his mentors. 2nd down and 8. Manning. And that pass is incomplete as Fujita comes in to break it up, intended for Reggie Wayne.
Yeah, Scott Fujita's doing a good job on defense. He's the guy that is playing that slot, that bubble area there, and he's playing it real well. You know, because you get in a position and you think that you have to, that you always up is over on that side, but you always have to play the run, but that strong backer also has to play that bubble or play the pass.
Third down and 8. The rookie Gonzalez comes in as the third wideout. He's in the slot to the right.
They hope he's Stokely. So far, he hasn't been.
That's the role they wanted to play. And Manning's going to take a timeout here. 4:46 remaining in the opening half. Saints by 3. Lit up tonight. And the new stadium being constructed next door, Lucas Oil Field, which will be the home of the Colts next year. Manning, after that timeout, still gesturing. And now you've got one of the few penalties in the game. It's against Ryan Liljer.
Number 65, offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
You know what I think it was? The Saint defense is in nickel defense, and I think they were anticipating blitz, so they were trying to change their pass protection on the line of scrimmage, and Liljer just jumped. That's the thing, you always assume that, he calls a play on the line of scrimmage because there's no huddle, but then he also changes that play when he sees the defense they're playing.
They have to get to the 42 to convert on third down and 13. Manning was great on third and long last year. About 50% of the time he converted. And that one is batted away. That's Harper, the cornerback, Roman Harper, in his second year. Was hurt much of last season, but I think he can make a big difference by staying healthy this year. Fourth down.
We were talking about, pass protection and Peyton Manning not getting sacked. But here's why, too. I mean, even if the pass protection breaks down, he knows how to get away, to buy some time and then still get rid of the ball. Peyton Manning is not going to take sacks.
Colts 40% on third and 10 or more last year. The rest of the league 20%. But this time the Saint defense was there. Hunter Smith will send this one off the side of his foot. And that will give New Orleans pretty good field position as they march it off at the 40-yard line. Now the Colts, a lot of Super Bowl teams lose players. The Colts lost Jason David, of course, who's been a big player tonight for New Orleans. Gilbert Gardner started 12 games at outside linebacker. Glenn retired, the left tackle. Nick Harper left to go to Tennessee, the other corner. Cato June decided to go to Tampa for a better contract, and Rhodes went to Oakland, where he suspended at the start of the season. So they lost 6 guys who played over 100 games last year. And but still, they feel that they are as good a team, if not better, than they were last year.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest loss they had wasn't on that list because it's an injury, and that was Booger McFarland, the defensive tackle, who really helped their defense at the end of last season.
No play here. McFarland got hurt in preseason.
False start, number 44, offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Mike Carney, says Walt Anderson, a referee.
I think they're going to miss Booger McFarland, inside as much as any of those other guys.
First penalty of the night against the Saints. Ed Johnson, an undrafted free agent, had some issues off the field at Penn State. One of the reasons he was undrafted, but all of a sudden here he is making his debut with the world champions on opening night. Reggie Bush to the outside. And he gets slung down by Rob Morris after a short game.
Reggie Bush was telling us last night that, that you just can't get beat up in this league. He said you have to know when it's the end of the journey. Instead of fighting for yards and doing all those things, that's when those strips come in. I mean, you just get as far as you can and go down. Now, that's nouveau football, and I am starting to understand it, and I'm starting to agree with it also.
He said he'll be a lot more patient this year as the fake is to McAllister. Reeves has a lot of time and then checks it down to the tight end, and that's Johnson who loses the ball. And 3 Colts are there, but somehow the Saints are able to retain possession. Johnson lost it, and it looked like he had lost it to the Colts, but somehow is able to regather it. Recovers his own fumble, and they keep it alive.
Right, and that's the exact thing I was talking about. That, if you keep fighting for yards, and that's the way we used to teach, stand up, keep going, then what you're doing, you're inviting more defenders in there to come in and strip the ball. So maybe there is something to get the ball, get a first down, and get down.
And it looked like Buffet was going to pick it up. There he came, but they couldn't get it before Johnson got it back. Third down and 5. from the 45. Swing it out to Bush. And Reggie, and what a defensive play by Keaho. Keaho fighting off the blocker. Reggie Bush trying to figure out which way to cut off the block, and Keaho said,
Yeah, Keaho just stuffed the blocker. That's the way to play it. You know, you can play it, accept the blocker. You can take the blocker and push him right into the runner. And that's what Freddie Keaho did. I really like him. I mean, you know, he's a second-year guy. He was a good special teams player, but he attacks the line of scrimmage.
He's the guy replacing Cato Jr. Fair catch is called for at the 15-yard line by T.J. Rushing. With 2 minutes and 24 seconds remaining in the opening half. A game that figured to be very high scoring, and still might be. I mean, we still have a lot of time to go, but it's 10-7.
Yeah, but that's the other thing that, you know, Tony Dungy does. He's not afraid to play young guys, you know, and he says that it not only, you know, energizes the young guys, but it energizes his whole team, and it energizes him and his coaching staff.
Well, you know, one of the amazing things is you think about youth, and again, the numbers can be a little skewed because it's all 53. The Colts are the second youngest team in the National Football League. They were the youngest until Green Bay made a move yesterday or the day before, and Green Bay became, you know, by like 2 days the youngest.
Yeah, but they know to keep those core guys. Keep that quarterback, keep those wide receivers, keep that offensive line, and then you can have a lot of young guys around.
Josh Bullock's tackles a die. It's okay to have young guys as long as you have a few old guys with names like Manning, Harrison, Wayne.
And Tony was saying last night where the youth is going to catch up with them early in the season as special teams.
2 minutes to the half. As long as it's not us, we're okay with it. And there you have the Mannings, Olivia and Archie, who are here tonight. And I don't think they're going to Dallas, but they're going to check Eli out in another week or so. Green Bay against the Giants. 2 minutes to the half, and caught by Clark, tackled by Fujita up at the 34-yard line.
Yeah, have you ever seen a shot of NFL parents ever relax to the game?
No.
And they look like the most tense people in the whole stadium.
Especially, remember last year there was
Look at Archie. They won't even look.
Watching his boy go against his old team. Fake inside handoff to a die. And then over the middle, Clark gets free. And the big gainer to the 31-yard line. Fujita that time again covering him. But Clark able to get behind him. And Dallas Clark in his 5th year out of Iowa with a long reception, 29 yards on the first down.
And here he comes, and he is so good at that. And Peyton Manning is so good at finding him. If you're going to take those safeties off and you're going to drop them deep to the outside, Peyton will look you off, keep you there, and then come back to Dallas Clark.
They get a 39-yard reception. First down, timeout here. Kickoff special brought to you by Chevy and American Revolution. By Universal Pictures The Kingdom in theaters September 28th. By Heineken, it's all about the beer. And by Subway Restaurants and the Subway Fresh Fit Meal, Subway Eat Fresh. State capital of Indiana. America's heartland. City right in the middle of the state. Dallas Clark, big play. Tight end. John talked about the fact he may have been their MVP in postseason last year. 5-year career, 13.4. Very good for a tight end. Again, he's a tight end, but he can also play in the slot. They flank him. That time he picked up 39. Here's a dive, cutting it back upfield and picking up 12 to the 20-yard line.
It was interesting. Tom Moore, calls a great game, and Peyton Manning calls a great game. And the Saints were playing that cover 2, safeties off, corners up, and the Colts were trying to run them out of it. Then they had enough of that, and they just hit Dallas Clark down the seam.
Manning on first down, jostled as he throws, and the pass intended for Clark is incomplete. That time it's Roman Harper covering on the play.
They have a play down here. I saw him work on the other day. It's kind of a hook and go where they bring Dallas Clark, or in this case it could be Anthony Gonzalez, inside and have him hold the inside linebackers and then go straight up the middle.
2nd 2nd and 10. To the 60 goes Adai. 2 timeouts remaining for Indianapolis, which for them is a ton of time under the circumstances. And on a best case basis, Manning would like to take him into the end zone and leave as little time as possible on the clock. That time the Saints called a timeout on 3rd and 5. Took a timeout. It's kind of an unusual timeout, John, in the sense that defensively you normally wouldn't take it here, but when Indy runs the 2-minute offense and with the personnel, New Orleans just didn't like the defenders they had on the field.
And I think their pass rushers were getting a little tired too. They'd like to give them a blow, so that they can come up with a big pass rush on this 3rd down.
But they take the timeout. Indy still has its 2, 3rd down and 5. And Manning to the outside he goes, and the pass is incomplete. McKenzie all over Marvin Harrison.
You know, that's one of those things that doesn't happen a lot with Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning. But it looks like when he's even with them, you see right there, Peyton Manning is going to back shoulder him. You know, now, if he would get over the top, he would throw the ball deep in the end zone. If they are even, he'll throw it to his back shoulder, so it turns into a fade stop.
And Vinatieri, 2nd year with the Colts, the longtime Patriot, one of the greatest kickers in the history of the league. So many pressure kicks in postseason. Kicks a 33-yard field goal with 45 ticks remaining in the opening half. And we're tied at 10 on opening night. In downtown Indianapolis, and so about 4 or 5 blocks from the RCA Dome, and that's where thousands gathered. They began gathering early today. Big celebration. And the concert out there with Faith Hill performing tonight. Kelly Clarkson, Peyton Manning tonight. 101 yards and the touchdown pass to Harrison. Breeze, meanwhile, 10 of 14, but for only 44 yards. A lot of stuff underneath. The guy got hurt on the opening play, but was able to come back shortly thereafter. Jason David gave up a touchdown. He got burned by Harrison and then created one himself, forcing the Wayne fumble and running it back in for a score. A couple of field goals on either side, and the game is tied at 10 as the kickoff comes down to the 1-yard line, and Lance Moore will run it back. Moore winning the job in training camp and getting it back up to about the 31-yard line. Saints last year great inside of 2 minutes, 5 touchdowns on drives that began with 2 or fewer minutes, and that's the best in the NFL.
You know, one of the big reasons is Drew Brees is great in the shotgun, so that'll put him in the shotgun. You know, here in the road they'll go silent count, but I think his rating in the shotgun last year was 107.
107.4 was the best in the league, and he loves the shotgun. He said, I played it a lot at Purdue. He said, I love getting in the gun. He's in the gun here. He buys time by moving to his left and finds the open man, and that's Marcus Colston who takes it up for a first down. They have only 1 timeout remaining, and they will use it right here.
Yeah, we saw Peyton Manning do this earlier, and Drew Brees does it here. You know, it's not always the pass protector or the pass protection that's great. Watch him save this right here. He gets an inside rush. He feels it, moves outside, buys time, and then finds his receiver. I mean, he knows that Dwight Freeney is going to be in on him, and he's worried about that inside move. So instead of just sitting there and taking a sack or trying to run away to the other side, he just goes to the same side that he spun on and then bought more time.
29 seconds, no timeouts.
They are frustrating Dwight Freeney. I mean, they've been running inside him all night. They ran a reverse on him. You know, he spins and gets inside. Brees gets outside.
That time Freeney will get to Brees, who then shovels it to an offensive lineman, so an illegal forward pass. Jamar Nesbitt said, what is this coming my way? And Walt Anderson is right there with the flag.
That was the end of the frustration for Dwight Freeney.
Yeah.
But, you know, he was going up the field earlier, and they were running inside him, and then he was spinning and getting caught inside. That time, he just used his speed and quickness, and he just took off on Jamal Brown.
Almost like he heard you.
Yeah, let's get going, Freeney. I don't know that, you know, he'd made a lot of plays yet in this game.
Reggie Bush is trying to contend that he was in the area. It's an illegal touch. When you see a 60-something touch the ball first, it's going to be an illegal touch.
And especially when the referee has his hat off.
Yes. And as a conference.
What's Dwight Freeney there? I mean, he just starts with a bull rush. You know, he said had enough spinner, and then just used his speed on the outside to get to Drew Brees.
Anderson just wanted to know if Indy wanted to accept the play or the penalty.
Well, when does he put his hat back on? Oh, there it is. You got to get this stuff straight.
Illegal touching of the pass, number 67, offense. That's a 5-yard penalty. Be first down.
Fans are booing here. They wanted to get that sack or get to where the point where he threw the ball away. Dwight Freeney can raise havoc. I mean, he's one of those guys that, you know, every down, doesn't look at his run, pass, whatever, he is going to rush the passer. He's going to raise havoc. He's going to get in the backfield. He's going to play 3 to 5 yards on your side of the line of scrimmage, not his.
We're going to give it to Reggie Bush through the middle, and he'll get to the 42-yard line with no timeout. So, in effect, instead of slinging one downfield and trying to get out of bounds, and setting up a field goal attempt. New Orleans will be content to go into the locker room with a game tied at the half, and that's what will happen. So, all things considered, a fairly low-scoring first half between these two potent offenses. Game time 10-10, so we have a halftime show coming up next after these messages from your local NBC station.
Hosting the first game is that, you know, we're the guys who set the tempo for the rest of the league.
You're starting a brand new season. Everybody in the nation's looking to see how good the Saints and how good the Colts are going to be.
We all strive to be world champions. To get to where we want to go, we got to go through Indianapolis.
These NFL games are long games. They're not won in the first or second quarter.
The key to winning the second half is being able to make the adjustments at halftime that are going to carry you through.
Who's the most conditioned and can be durable over the course of a 4-quarter game? And I like our chances.
Back to the second half. Indianapolis, Indiana. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Andrea Kramer. Opening night of the 2007 season. Only 20 points in a game that figured to be higher scoring, but still, of course, a lot of time to go. Some of the numbers through the first half. The Colts with 189 total yards and that one turnover, which led to the touchdown. And the Indy defense, John, doing a very nice job limiting Breeze to throwing underneath, and only 112 total yards for the Saints.
Right, they're playing those safeties deep, and they're pressing with the corners, and they're playing a soft zone. So Breeze has to take the quick or the underneath stuff, and the Colts just aren't letting him have anything deep at all.
Terry kicks off, and it's a bouncing ball that's fielded up at the 25-yard line. And crushed at the 34-yard line is Josh Cooper, a backup defensive end. To Andrea we go.
Well, at halftime, Sean Payton told me that they have to be patient offensively, stay ahead of the chains, do a better job on third downs, and mix in more play action. As for Tony Dungy, he said, our offense is off. They're playing a lot of two deep zone. We have to run the ball better. He said we have to convert on third downs. They're only 2 for 7. And as for Joseph Adai, he was injured on the first play of the game. He just got the wind knocked out of him. Obviously, he's had a great first half.
After a very scary beginning to the season, 5 seconds into the game. Breeze to hand the ball to Deuce McAllister. And McAllister will get pushed back after he reaches the 39-yard line. Gary Brackett makes the tackle. Last year, Drew Brees, when he threw deep, he was more effective than anybody in the league. The targets more than 20 yards from the line of scrimmage. 52% completion. Mark led in yards and touchdowns. Third in rating, but tonight, as John said, that soft 2 deep zone not giving him anything deep, throwing underneath, and thus he is averaging less than 4 yards per pass attempt tonight. McAllister Deuce reaches across the 40, setting up a 3rd and 2.
Just at the end of the first half there, I was talking about Dwight Freeney and how he always plays on your side or their side of the line of scrimmage. The Saints are going no huddle here. He just did on the last play.
Close to their own medicine, and the pass is knocked down by Josh Thomas. Back up defensive end, backs up Robert Mathis and comes in and rotates from time to time with him. Knocked it down and forces the punt.
Yeah, that's one of the things where maybe Sean Payton outsmarted himself. You know, they got the second half kickoff, so they start and they want to change the tempo. You know, maybe go with no huddle on 3rd down, pick up a 1st down, you know, catch the Colts off balance. But when it doesn't happen, then you lose time of possession. You just give them the ball back.
Punt by Weatherford will bounce out of bounds at about the 28-yard line. So quickly, Indianapolis gets the ball to start their first drive in the 3rd period. A lot of great moments in this man's life, especially last year, but a lot of them have come off the field, and one of the special ones took place yesterday here in Indianapolis for Peyton Manning.
Children's Hospital at St. Vincent that bears my name will be a place where families and children, if they get into a situation where they need the best care, that they'll come to this hospital and feel as positive about the experience. The kind of work that the staff and the doctors can do, just to be a part of that in a small way is special to me, and I'm just excited what we can do together to helping as many kids as possible.
Well, you talk about giving back. How about having a hospital named for you? The Peyton Manning Children's Hospital at St. Vincent's.
You know, we always hear so much what's wrong with sports and what's wrong with, you know, pro athletes. Well, this and Peyton Manning is what's right about it.
On 1st down, the ball is given to Joseph Adai up to the 30-yard line. And things like that, of course, a breath of fresh air for the commissioner of the National Football League. And there is Roger Goodell taking in the opener, beginning his 2nd season at the home on Park Avenue. And of course, he had his plate full in the offseason. And as you look at the Manning family, there's nobody happier to see the games begin than the commish.
I think he's doing a fine job with everything. He seems to be in control. I mean, he's a commissioner, he's ahead of it, and he's in control of it.
Very much so. Adai on a middle screen, picking and threading, and that should be enough for a 1st down with a flag at the end of the play. Fujita in on the tackle. Walt Anderson is the ref.
You know, we were talking about how the Colts aren't giving the Saints anything deep, and the Saints are kind of playing the same defense. I mean, they're not giving the Colts anything deep after that one to Marvin Harrison. They're playing, you know, a deep shell themselves, and so that's making the Colts go to the run out of cover 2, as Tony Dungy said at halftime, and run screen passes and these types of things.
In the back. The offensive player did not lose contact with the defender.
So no foul. They've spotted the ball very close to the marker, and they're going to measure. So timeout while they bring the sticks in. There's Wayne staying in contact with David. Well, I'll say.
Yeah, if you start your contact in a legal position, and then if you end up in an illegal position, it's legal.
I'll buy that.
I remember years ago we put that in, you know, that officials had to see the whole play, because sometimes you would block a guy in the front and the guy would just turn and the official would throw it like it was a clip.
Well, one official saw it as an infraction, but the other said, no, I saw it from a better angle. From the 39 on 1st down, they're going to run it to Clark. So they give it to Dallas Clark on the end around, and he picks up about 13. Tackled by Mark Semino and gets the ball into Saints territory. First career rush for Dallas Clark.
Yeah, that's the thing. Tony Hugo, the rookie left tackle, is going to lead. Watch him here. He's number 67. He gets a spinner himself, and then that gets him out in front. He gets that block right up there, and that gives Dallas Clark about 5 more yards.
Both teams balanced play selections tonight as Manning retreats. under pressure, chase, throws, caught. It's a guy coming back to make the catch, and he's taken down by Grant at the 44-yard line. Dallas Clark, we talk about him as a tight end, but in name only because he's winding up all over the field.
Well, and that's big. We see him here lined up split to the right, and that's the one that they threw the touchdown to Marvin Harrison. Here's where he plays most of the time, in the slot, but we also see him at tight end. So that's where he's so valuable. You know, if you need a slot guy, he plays there. If you need a wide receiver, that's where he is right now. Or if you need a tight end, he also plays in that location.
2nd and 8, stretch play to the dive on the short side of the field. He gets bunched up, led by Charles Grant, 6th-year defensive end. And that's really one of the strengths of that defense, those defensive ends, Grant and Smith.
Yeah, we talked about Marvin Harrison always being on the right side. This time, Dallas Clark is up there on top, and you see why. Because they're going to run the stretch play to that side, and they want a blocker to lead out there, and he does that. And they put Marvin Harrison over here on the left side, away from the run blocker.
3rd down and 7. Ricky Gonzalez comes into the game. He's going to slot to the left.
This is where a rookie's head spins when he gets the play, and then they change the play.
Manning looked that way, then goes the other way and lays it into the arms of Harrison. It'll be 1st down and goal. Jason Kraft blitzed, and that created an opening for Harrison on a 42-yard reception. Mike McKenzie with the coverage.
Yeah, Mike McKenzie wants to get up here. He's going to be physical up there on top, but he doesn't get his hands on Marvin Harrison. And with his quickness and his moves, if you don't get your hands on him, he is going to get a big play on you.
So he beat David when he lined up to one side, and then to the other side he beats McKenzie. They don't flop their corners.
Yeah, it's funny, you keep hearing that Marvin Harrison's getting older and he's going to lose it, and I've never seen it anywhere.
Play fake. Manning stepping up, and he'll throw that one away. Nobody open. Dallas Clark, the nearest guy, but he was blanketed by Scott Shanley. 2nd and goal.
That's where, you know, one of the things that Peyton Manning always talks about, you know, I want to improve, and, you know, game management. I mean, doing those things when a play breaks down, when you don't have anything, don't force anything, just throw it away and then come back to 2nd down.
Clark and Wayne split left, Harrison to the right. Adai is the setback. 2nd down and goal. Adai for the touchdown to give Indianapolis the lead. The Saints went 3 and out to open the half. Manning takes over and leads them on a 71-yard drive.
That's Ryan Deem. He's number 71, the right tackle. That's where he's going to get that block right there, and he gets into his guy, he gets into him, and then he gets him turned. Charles Grant is trying to play him square, and Deem doesn't let him play him square. He gets position on him, and that's what forms the hole.
Adam Vinatieri, and that was a bobbled snap and a nice job done by Hunter Smith to get it down for Vinatieri, who has never missed a kick of any sort in this building. Adai to the end zone, and Indy to the lead, 17-10. The inspiration for the movie Hoosiers, a Hoosier pork tenderloin sandwich.
Well, that's a chicken fried, isn't it?
It's something fried.
Oh, yeah. I mean, chicken fried isn't chicken. You know, they just beat the meat to death like that and then throw it in a fryer.
It's a lot of fat grams, whatever it is. 8 Eastern time. Football night in America begins at 7 Eastern time on Sunday night. McAllister and Bush are in the backfield together. Breeze on 1st down, and Breeze going long, and it's a wobbly pass that's deflected and almost intercepted by Buffet. Dante Hughes, a rookie out of the University of California, playing as their nickel back here, was able to tip it, and then Bethea appeared to have it for a moment and couldn't hold on. Breeze got lucky.
Yeah, we talk about Breeze not getting deep plays, and again, the Colts aren't giving them to him. I I mean, watch how deep those safeties are. I mean, you are not in any way going to get behind them. And when you start to force it and try and force that, bad things are going to happen to you.
Now Bush, and he can't get out of the backfield. So that Indy defense picking up where they left off in postseason. They were shredded last year at the end of the regular season. Teams staggered home with a 3-4 record, but then looked good against Kansas City, very good against Baltimore. Stiffened when they had to against New England after giving up an 18-point lead, and played well enough, obviously, against Chicago and Miami.
And I don't know that they ever play bad defense when Bob Sanders is in there, but look at this live and just look how deep how deep those safeties were.
And there was a lot of crowd noise in the false start before the snap, and that's going to make it 3rd down and 17.
False start, number 70, offense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Jamal Brown, the left tackle.
I'm just looking at the two safeties, and they were almost to the 45-yard line, so you know you need a big play. You know you want to get deep. You know you got Henderson and you got Colston. You want to get them the ball deep, but this defense is not going to let you. You're going to have to beat them with other things.
Buffet and Sanders are fully 20 yards downfield. Plus, it's an inside give out of a shotgun, but short of the 1st down as the handoff goes to Reggie Bush, and then comes the punting group again.
Yeah, and you say, well, when they play that deep, what do they give you? Well, they give you the run. And then when you get those unmanageable or 3rd and real long downs, you can't do anything about it.
And you saw the frustration. Drew Brees led the league in passing yardage last season. He has 57 passing yards tonight, and he's averaging about 3.5 yards per attempt.
That's the old thing. If you take what they give you and you play the Colts, you're going to average 3 yards.
Good deep kick by Weatherford, backing up, rushing to the 18-yard line, so he has a little room to run it back, and then he gets popped up at the 30-yard line by Jake Bellinger. 8 minutes, 5 seconds remaining in the 3rd. Opening night in Indiana. Colts by a touchdown. Manning starts from the 31-yard line. Colts by 7. Over the middle. Open there is Ben Utek, the other tight end. And Utek holds on to his helmet and holds on to the football for a 1st down.
You know, that's the other thing Peyton Manning does very, very well is play action pass. And you're going to see that this starts and you go play action here just to hold those linebackers so that your tight end, Ben Utek, can get behind him. You see, Semino just took a step and just held there for a bit, and Utek could get behind him.
That's all it took. A guy now to the left side, and the guy gets tackled at the 43. Mark Semino and Josh Bullets. Let's go back to the Harrison plays, John.
Yeah, well, look what they did. On the 2 big plays, he caught him in a blitz. Now, they've been playing like soft zones. They've been playing deep. Here they come in a blitz from the right side, and he catches him and hits Marvin Harrison again. Here they're going to come on another blitz. You see the linebacker corner coming from that side. He catches him and hits Marvin Harrison again. Well, anytime you give him anything, he's going to find it.
And here's a dime. They give him a lot of room through the middle against the 4-man front, and he picks up a 1st down at the 29-yard line. Scott Fujita makes the tackle, but Indy rolling again on back-to-back drives.
There's something to watch. Joseph Adai now that, you know, he's not only the #1 guy, but he's really the only guy. I mean, it's going to be one of those things that there's not going to be much there to spell you, so you're going to have to be an every down back. And I was talking to Marshall Falk about that before the game. He said Joseph Adai has never been that guy anywhere in college or obviously with the Colts.
100 yards for him tonight on 18 carries after a frightening beginning when he had the wing like that and went down. Manning deep to the end zone. Wayne for the touchdown. Reggie Wayne lined up on the left, and that time it was Jason David who got burned by Harrison when Harrison lined up to the left. Touchdown Indianapolis and a 2-touchdown lead.
And again, here he is. He's lined up on the left. You see David looking into the backfield. Reggie Wayne just gets the inside on him and runs that post pattern. And he really beat him with his release. There's a competitor.
point number 24. And so from 10-10 at the half to 24-10 in favor of the Super Bowl champions. 6:11 to play in the third. Wayne went to the Pro Bowl last year. A lot of key touchdowns along the playoff march, and one right here to make it a 2-touchdown game.
Here he is right here. You see the slot will come up here. He takes him in quarters, and then Reggie Wayne just goes right by Jason David on the post. Watch the play action pass, how it affects those linebackers. They're all up there. The safety comes up on the slot, and that post is wide open to Reggie Wayne.
24-10. Vinatieri's kick is fielded 2 yards into the end zone. Lance Moore. And Indianapolis last year, one of their big problems was run-back coverage. To wit, the Super Bowl. Devin Hester on the opening kick, but tonight they've done a great job. Luke Lawton makes the tackle, and we go to Andrea Kramer.
Well, I had asked Jason David, how do you frustrate Peyton Manning? He said, don't give up the deep ball. He said for 3 years he watched Peyton throw the deep ball in all the great corners and didn't want to be another one. Now he's been victimized twice tonight. And remember, in Indianapolis, David played primarily a cover 2 defense with zone coverage looking at the quarterback. In New Orleans, he plays more man-to-man. He's back to the ball, not really paying attention to the quarterback. He said it's totally opposite in terms of techniques, and still, as we can see tonight, guys, in the learning stage.
And he has been so instrumental in so much of the game, and that pass is incomplete because the pressure was again put on Drew Brees. Drew Brees is now 11 out of 18 for 57 yards.
Right, and now there's going to be more and more pressure. I mean, you just know that this defensive line and Dwight Freeney are going to get fired up, and those safeties are just going to get deeper. Watch Freeney right here. Watch how he does that. He starts up the field, dips that left shoulder, and then he gets right underneath, and his next step is on Drew Brees.
McAllister is the running back. Deuce has it. And Deuce will pick up the first down. Too early to get away from the running game, so they give it to him through the middle. Sanders makes the tackle. First down, New Orleans.
You know, and again, this Colt defense is playing very well tonight, and they feel okay to let you have that. You know, and it's okay. We're going to rush the passer. We're going to play those safeties deep. And if you want to run the ball, we're going to give it to you now that we're ahead 24-10.
Brees 0 for 3 in this half. Then has to check it down, and then a circus catch is made at the 34-yard line by Colston with tremendous hands and great body control, reaching back to make the grab for a gain of about 7.
You know, part of it is that Drew Brees isn't getting a lot of time, and he's getting a pretty big pass rush. And the other part is the wide receivers really haven't gotten open. I mean, this defensive secondary of the Colts is playing very, very well tonight. You know, Marlon Jackson and Kelvin Hayden at the corners are #1 and 2 draft choices a couple years ago, are really playing well.
Second down and 4 from the 34. Brees goes underneath. Pass is made here by David Pat, who's been around as Giant, New England Patriot. Pat now in his 11th year out of Western Carolina, and he makes his first catch of the season.
Drew Brees feels real comfortable with Patton. You know, he played a lot with him in the preseason, and you know, he was kind of his go-to guy. But again, it's that underneath stuff. I mean, well, pretty soon you hope you catch him in a cover 3. You catch Bob Sanders up there expecting to run and go play action pass and throw a deep one. I think they could on this down.
On the 37-yard line, this is Devery Henderson taking it to the right side from his left end spot up to the 43-yard line. Last season, the Colts, they got hot in the playoffs, but they allowed 173 rushing yards per game, allowed 100 or more yards in every game. That hadn't been done in 22 seasons. And then in the postseason, 4.1, which is about the league average. But of all crazy things, the team that's worst in the league in rush defense wins the Super Bowl, which used to be unheard of. 2nd and 5, and that's caught by McAllister. And McAllister, with his forward progress, may have been at the first down. It's close.
Yeah, but remember that old deal when the cat's away, the mice play? that there was a little of that. I mean, when Bob Sanders was there wasn't a lot of running. He was hurt a lot of last year, and it seemed like when he wasn't there, this was a total different defense. Even Tony Dungy was saying he felt that the guys felt that when he wasn't there that they had to do more, and that's what really hurt them. But if they have this guy the whole season, they're going to be a much better defense this year.
Walt Anderson wants to bring in the chain gang. Ball at the 47-yard line. Going to be very close. Appears to be short and is. So third down and that much coming up.
I used to hate it when I was coaching and it would be fourth down and that much, you know, and the referee would show, you know, the whole crowd, you know, how far you have to go, and then you'd put your punter in and all the fans would boo. You know, I would just tell the guy, I know it's fourth down. Don't give me that signal how far it is. But I hated that.
And normally it's narrower than it really is, too.
I know,
right?
and they always give it, you know, and I mean, this is third down. That's not bad. But when it's fourth down and the referee gives you that whole thing, gives it to the whole stadium, that is a coach killer.
What crowd ever called for a punt? Third and inches. Bush started left, goes right, and avoids a tackle in the backfield and picks up a first down. That was Gary Brackett, who almost knocked him down behind the line of scrimmage, which would have forced another punt. But Reggie with a slick move and a first down.
You know, and he needed a slick move to get a first down there because this Colt defense is really swarming, and they're really good tacklers. I mean, there's always someone there, and if you miss, there's two, there's three, there's four right there. You're not going to get far when you miss a tackle.
Heisman Trophy winner at USC. Now from the 50-yard line. Breeze buys time with a fake, but has to throw short. The screen set up for McAllister and broken up there by Ed Johnson, the rookie out of Penn State. You know, John, one thing I'm thinking about these teams, you go back maybe 8 or 9 or 10 years, if somebody says New Orleans and Indianapolis, you know what you would have thought of? Number 5 regional on Fox. Going to about 4 markets.
Yeah, and that's where this guy, Sean Payton, did such a good job. I mean, his first goal when he went to New Orleans was, he said, change the culture. He has changed the culture.
And Manning helping to change the Colt culture as well. As coming up is Rob Morris to take down Deuce McAllister at the 50-yard line.
Then you feel that Rob Morris is really getting more comfortable at that Sam or strong linebacker position. You know, we talked about how he was a middle linebacker, and then he became a strong side linebacker, and how he just felt that instead of taking that block on, he just dives in, takes the inside, and makes the tackle for a loss, and then creates his third and long.
A resurgence in his career. One-time number 1 pick. There's a flag. For the moment, it will be a first down. It's Eric Johnson. However, the penalty will go against the Saints.
False start, number 78. Offense, 5-yard penalty. It's still third down.
John Stinstone. It may be the smallest stadium in the league, but it could be the loudest as well, at least tonight.
Yeah, that's the thing about a coach that's calling the plays. You can't argue about what just happened. It's always what you're going to do next. So Sean Payton thought he had a first down, was thinking of a first down play, you know, inside the 40, and he ends up with a 3rd and 15 play he has to call.
Under a minute remaining in the third quarter. McAllister and Bush are both in the game, flanking Breeze. And the pass is intercepted at the 42-yard line by Freddie Keaho, who brings it back to the 47 on the turnover. Big night for a guy on the spot, replacing Cato June, who had a great year last year, came up big all season long. He goes to Tampa, and Keaho takes over the starting spot.
Yeah, and they were talking about Freddie Keaho. He's this guy right here, and on the cover two, he has to squeeze and come in here for anything in the middle, and he really squeezes this one. They were worried about, you know, they knew he would play the run well, but watch him squeeze it. Drew Brees starts to go that way. He just goes and comes in and takes the whole thing away.
His first career pick, and now Manning will pump fake and go deep down the left side and find Wayne. And Reggie Wayne will set him up deep in Saints territory at the 16-yard line. and nobody goes for the kill better than Peyton Manning.
No, you know, they talked about getting him into a rhythm, and once he gets into that rhythm, he is going to get you, and he's in that rhythm right now. So he has a window right there between the corner and the safety, and he throws it in there perfectly.
Jason David can't wait to get out of Indianapolis again. End of 3. Indianapolis 24. New Orleans 10. Back we come after this from your NBC station. In Indianapolis, Al Michaels, John Madden, and Andrea Kramer. Look at those numbers. And you can sum it up thusly. Breeze is averaging about 3 yards a pass. Manning is averaging about 10 yards a pass. And Peyton has him knocking on the door again from the 16-yard line as Adai gets rolled down by big number 99 Hollis Thomas. It'll be 2nd down and 9.
You know, Adai looks like he's handling this load pretty well. You know, you'd think that you start seeing him get tired or not being, hitting the holes the same way. And there are a lot of backs that get stronger and better as the game goes on. And Joe Adai may be that guy.
I hope he is, because as we said earlier, there's no quality backup at the moment for the Colts. Manning has time again, and Reggie Wayne laying out but can't make the catch. It'll be 3rd down and 9. Big stop here for the Saints. I mean, they're already down by 14. A moral victory to hold them to a field goal here and at least stay in the game.
Do you feel that the Colts have that rhythm, that Peyton has his rhythm, and that's going to be a tough thing because Peyton Manning is not afraid of 3rd and long.
They have their rhythm on offense and they have their rhythm on defense right now. 3rd down and 9.
Joseph, the guy goes up with him, and Peyton goes up to change the play. The guy goes up with him.
Snap it with 2 on the play clock. And then Manning, he was almost wrestled to the ground that time. Will Smith had him around the shirt, and at least they are able to hold him. But you may have a horse collar here where they flag down at the 21.
Holding number 67, offense. That penalty is declined. It's 4th down.
Nope.
Yeah, 67 is Tony Hugo, the rookie that was blocking Will Smith that was on Peyton Manning. And you see him right here. You see again the bull rush, and Hugo's going to have to learn to drop his hips. I mean, he's up too high. When Will Smith gets into him, watch him just straighten him up and take him right back into Manning.
Meanwhile, Smith got away with a face mask that time as he pulls Manning down from behind. Vinatieri, who has never missed a kick in this building as either a Patriot or a Colt. 33-yard attempt is good with 48 seconds having gone by in the 4th quarter. Colts extend their lead 27-10 over the Saints.
I think that New Orleans is back up and running and everything is fine in New Orleans. You know, that's far from the case. But at the same time, you know, we're not going to be a city that's going to lay down. We're a proud city. We're a proud franchise. And I think, you know, we kind of wear that on our shoulder, and we want to go out and represent our city in that way.
Tom Benson, the owner of the Saints, and his wife Gail, and obviously post-Katrina, playing their games in San Antonio and Baton Rouge as the kickoff goes into the end zone. And McAllister summed it up. I mean, everybody should know by now, you know, it's a great comeback story in New Orleans, and the city's trying to regroup, but there's a ton of work to be done. And they have guys like Drew Brees, who was the co-man of the year last year, and then Peyton comes in, and a football team is not going to resurrect the city, but at least under the most dire of circumstances, it gave thousands of people reasons to be a little bit happier last year as they turned in one of the most marvelous comeback stories in the history of sports.
Like, the city was good for them because they really supported them, and they were good for the city.
Brees out of the gun, and the pass is caught 4 yards downfield by Eric Johnson. So interesting, last year with New Orleans now going to a hurry-up. Drew Brees at San Diego, and the question was, would he re-sign there or would they go with Phillip Rivers? Peyton had never been a head coach in the NFL, though he had come close to getting the Oakland job a couple of years ago. as Breeze throws, and that's incomplete. You think about it, John, it's so interesting. Peyton really wanted the Green Bay job last year before he gets interviewed by New Orleans, but he wasn't going to get it. He gets that. Breeze was looking at Miami, but they went with Culpepper, and Bush wanted to be drafted #1, which meant Houston. So you got three guys who thought or had hoped at one point they'd be someplace else, all come together and create magic. Third and 5. Breeze escapes a sack, and then he's going to run, but not for a first down. Keaho and Mathis are there to make sure he doesn't get it. And now Peyton, down by 17, has to think about going for it here on 4th down.
You know, Keaho has really been impressive, and you take that combination, and the Saints are going to punt here, but that combination that just made that tackle, that is a different defense. When you add Freddie Keaho to it, and the way he gets around, and the way he flies, and the way he tackles with Bob Sanders, that is very, very difficult.
This is a testament to the Indy defense right now, because when you're down by 17, and it's the 4th quarter to the Colts, and you have 4th and inches, I would have gone for it.
Everyone would go for it against the Colts, but maybe not this team tonight.
Rutherford to the 18-yard line. This is Russian. P.J. Russian to the 34-yard line. Manning with a hot hand. Colts have scored 17 in the half. There's John Kierland. 27-10 Indianapolis. Good audio tonight, so let's listen to this. Peyton Manning takes his team up to the line of scrimmage and what he barks out. Pretty simple right there. He gives it to a dive up to the 38-yard line. Up here now in the situation, John, we'll listen to him, but also trying to take some time off the clock at this point.
Right, and what he's doing right now is he's getting 3 plays from Tom Moore. There'll be 2 runs and a pass. So he sends in those plays. Now Peyton Manning is going to get up and look at the defense and call the play. He hasn't called it yet.
A dive. And he takes it to the 41-yard line. It will be 3rd and 3.
So now he'll get 3 more plays. He's getting them right now. You see, and then Tom Moore calls him in. Again, 2 runs and a pass, and I think in this thing here, you know, Peyton has the choice of the plays, and you know he's going to choose whether do I run on this 3rd down or pass. He's changing the play right now
to a pass. And the clock-eating first down as Wayne makes the catch up at the 49-yard line.
That was interesting there because he had a run call. It looked like it was going to be a run to the right. It was orange 12. Then he looked at the defense and made them commit, and then he changed it to a pass.
Moore gets the plays in to Peyton right away. Remember, the mic from coach, the quarterback, goes off with 16 seconds on the play clock.
And remember, the only guy that can get it on the field is the guy that has a green dot in his helmet.
Sneak a peek at the play clock. And a dive. Shifty move into Saints territory, tackling the 46.
I think orange 12 is that zone play. You know, they have the 2 zone plays, the inside play and the outside zone play. That was the inside zone. I think now he's just trying to slow things down and run more. And now they go to a huddle. Well, they didn't do a lot of this a couple of years ago, and Tony Dungy thought that hurt him. And so what he's doing now is just huddling up again to take time off the clock, to slow it down with that 27-10 lead.
That was a very loose huddle, but that's a team that doesn't huddle. So they're just kind of standing around, letting the play clock go down a little bit.
Well, the wide receivers didn't even get in the huddle, and they get a touchdown.
Yeah, to Reggie Wayne, who beats Jason David. So Manning saw the opening, saw the coverage, knew Wayne could beat him. Touchdown Colts.
Jason David was saying that he's playing different than he did with the Colts, but he looks like he's playing the same to me. He's still looking into the backfield, and that is a tough thing when you're playing man-to-man because you're affected by the quarterback, and you can't be affected by Peyton Manning. And with these two guys, once they get a step on you, it's going to be a touchdown. He's just something. I mean, the way Peyton Manning runs this team and the way these guys perform, it's just like surgery.
45-yard touchdown, Vinatieri for the point after. Indianapolis 34, New Orleans 10. Manning going to the end zone, and it is caught by Marvin Harrison for a touchdown. Wonderful numbers if you're a receiver. Horrible numbers if you're a corner.
Wonderful numbers again if you're the Colts. Horrible numbers if you're a Saint.
3 touchdowns. David's been beaten for tonight. Of course, he has scored New Orleans' only touchdown on a strip and a fumble return, meaning that the New Orleans offense, #1 in the league last year, has not scored a touchdown tonight. Indy on opening night looking like Indy last year at the end, 34-10. On this first Thursday night of September, Drew Brees having, along with the same offensive night to forget to this point, and that is juggled by Bush. This Colt defense, their defensive coordinator, Ron Meeks, and there he is, and he has a splint on that finger. In practice, he looked up, there was a punt coming his way, and he tried to deflect it, and that is the end result. And he is not the only Colt coach with a cast on his hand, because there was also hand surgery for the offensive line coach. There is Howard Mudd, and Howard with that right hand wrap. Brees throws, that's caught by Stecker. Now Meeks is out on the field. You can see where that happened. Howard Mudd, I saw him before the game. Howard, what happened? He said, you're not going to believe it. He said, I used my finger as a shoehorn, and I got frustrated. I couldn't get the sneaker on, and the next thing you know, I tore ligaments and I'm in surgery.
You know, that's offensive line coach rule #1. Don't use your finger as a shoehorn. I mean, Howard should know that. He's been around. He's been a player in the league. He's been a coach forever. Longer consecutive assistant coach than anyone in the league.
Offside, and the Colts was declined in the last play. And this is the tight end Johnson, and Indy will give them all they want underneath and just let that clock keep running down. 9.5 to play.
Yeah, which goes back to that 4th and short. You wonder, why they didn't go for it, because when you're playing the Colts, you're not playing a normal NFL team. I mean, you're playing a team that's going to score a lot of points.
Johnson again, the tight end. That's a first down. First down up at the 46 as New Orleans goes without a huddle.
And that's where they put the pressure on you. I think you come in to play the Colts and you have to think, I have to score 28 points if I'm going to have a chance to win. I've always felt that way. That, when you go in and play the Colts, you better think, I'm going to start out having to score 28 points. So you have to play the game a little more aggressively than the Saints are.
Brees steps up, and again, Johnson is his main man on this drive. That's a 9-yard gain to the 45-yard line. That's 7 catches for the tight end tonight.
Again, we have that, 2 deep shell, safeties off, linebackers off. They're giving you stuff, so they're giving you the run, they're giving you the dump, and they're giving you the tight end in the middle.
Second down and 1, and the whistle before the play.
Neutral zone infraction, number 96, defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
We look at Brees and all those short passes, and, that won't get it for you. But when McAllister only has 35 yards and Bush only has 29 yards rushing, that won't get it for you either. I mean, that's a bad combination where you don't have anything going passing, and your 2 big runners didn't get the yards for you.
From the 40, Brees has the ball stripped, and they're going to rule it a fumble and a recovery by Robert Mathis. His arm not coming forward with the ball. Mathis gets in there, Breeze with the fumble and the recovery for the Colts.
Yeah, we talk about Dwight Freeney coming from the right side, but Robert Mathis coming from the other side is pretty tough too.
Sean Payton is challenged, but there's no way he can possibly win this. And you could tell by looking at the play when it happened. His career record there challenges 5 out of 11, but it's not even an empty hand here for Breeze. Breeze's hand clearly not coming forward. Here comes Mathis. The ball is gone, and then the hand finally comes forward well after the fact, and Mathis is there to recover it. So the Saints' last 3 possessions: interception,
After
punt,
reviewing the play,
and fumble.
It is a fumble, recovery by the defense. New Orleans will be charged with their first timeout.
That's a wish challenge.
Right, and you have to do it. I mean, you're down 34-10. You have to get something here. Now watch John Turlink here, the defensive line coach. He can still give a pretty good chest bump, but that jump is a little tough. You couldn't get a credit card underneath that.
That chest bump is assault and battery.
You see Drew Brees, you know, he had his arm going forward and his head going back to look for the ball. That means it's a fumble.
Bad combo. The dive to the 47-yard line. So Jason David leaves, gets a contract to go to New Orleans, and defensively they've just been killing him.
I mean, that's really killing him. You know, by 2 receivers, Marvin Harrison gets him here for the touchdown. And Reggie Wayne gets him here for this one. And again, what Andrea was talking about, he's looking into the backfield, you know, playing man-to-man, and then Reggie Wayne gets him again. I mean, you better get that straightened out, or a lot of them are going to get him.
You know, it's funny. You look at this team, and, you know, a lot of the preseason prognostications dealt with the fact, well, Indy lost its 2 corners, Harper and David. June goes to Tampa. You know, McFarland gets hurt. They've got a lot of things that they're going to have to deal with. But interestingly, in talking to some of the people around the team, as they hand the ball to the backup back, Kenton Keith, you got the feeling in terms of the cornerbacks, Harper and David, that, okay, you know, they were all right. But by putting in Marlon Jackson and Kelvin Hayden, both of them play well in postseason, they might be better off. And you know what? They do look like they're better off.
Yeah, and they both played. I mean, Marlon Jackson played weak safety, strong safety, and corner. And remember, his interception against the Patriots was what sealed the deal for him. So they're first-year starters, but they have played. And I think that the Colts really feel better about those 2 guys because they're bigger and more physical than they did about the 2 they lost. I watched Freddie Keaho here tonight, and I feel pretty good about him for that.
At the 39-yard line, and Manning whistled before the snap on this play.
Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Not a bad time for it. So the Colts key guys tonight, and remember the night started with a Dye getting hurt on the first play. Turned out that he just had the wind knocked out of him. 118 yards. Manning, of course, has been Manning. Wayne has scored 2 touchdown passes. Harrison has scored a touchdown. Just where they left off last year.
And we're going to plop a guy on the horse trailer after this game, aren't we?
The horse trailer's back.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. Who are you going to plop?
Well, right now we got a few plop candidates. We will find a plop-y. You know, John, I'm thinking about, as Keith carries again, you know, these defensive guys, and people go, oh, you know, what are we going to do? But every time a team loses a guy, remember last year we come in here and everybody's going, oh my God, we don't have Edgerrin James. We're missing Edgerrin James. He goes to Arizona. We've got a rookie. How are we going to replace him? Lombardi Trophy. Not that Edgerrin wouldn't have won it himself, but, you know, it's funny how you find somebody to replace somebody else.
Right, and I was one of those guys. I mean, I thought because Edgerrin was, you know, such a good blocker and such a big part of the pass offense, I thought it was really going to hurt him. And Dominic Rhodes and the combination of Joseph Adai did an excellent job.
2nd and 10. They dump it over the middle of the key, and he tries to spin his way out of traffic, but can't. And he gets taken down.
But, you know, I think Tony Dungy kind of likes that. I really do. change, and it's a new, it's a new challenge. And, I mean, he uses the word energy. Young guys bring a new energy. And, just watching him coach, he enjoys it. I mean, he goes, when they practice offense, he goes out and plays defensive back against their offense to give them a look. He said the other day he was playing Mike McKenzie and showing Marvin Harrison how Mike McKenzie would play.
Well, he could play defensive back. He could also play quarterback. Go on both sides of the line in practice, and he's still in good enough shape to do it. 3rd and 12. Getting off at the expiration of the play clock, and here's Harrison cut across the field. And Marvin just wants to stay in bounds at that point and keep the clock running down to the 5-minute mark. The other thing about Indianapolis, John, is the fact it's all homegrown. They've drafted brilliantly through the years. I mean, there's a 1, Harrison's a 1, Wayne's a 1. We've seen Rob Morris tonight. Adai is a number 1. Clark, it's been phenomenal. And Bill Polian has been here for so many of those years. Jimmy Irsay is the owner of the team. There are only 4 guys on this team right now, only 4 that have ever played for any other team in the NFL.
And I like the way they approach it. I mean, Tony was saying that we get a guy and he's most like what we need. I mean, they need a slot, they take an Anthony Gonzalez. They need a tackle, they move up to get a Tony Hugo.
5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
A couple of years ago, they needed a back like Joseph Adai, so they go out and get him. And they're very, very smart in their whole approach. I mean, not only to personnel, but to organization, but how they play the game. They're very, very solid.
Smith drops the ball down nose first. Fair catch is called for and made by Lance Moore at the 12.
The message the team is trying to send this game is to go out and play hard and show every other team in the NFL this is what we're going to be about for the rest of the year.
It's a new team. We have rookies who are going to come in and step in for guys who are gone.
When you look at the upcoming Indianapolis schedule, it's pretty favorable. These throws caught by Colson. Now, every coach is going to say it changes and nothing's easy. We know that. But they play at Tennessee, at Houston, Denver and Tampa Bay here, at Jacksonville and at Carolina for the next 6 games. There it is. None of those next 6 opponents, none made the playoffs last year.
Right, and I would think the way they're playing tonight, especially defensively, I mean, they're always going to be great offensively, but the way they're playing tonight defensively, I don't know that it would matter who they play.
Yeah, right now. I mean, put a stopping on New Orleans like this.
Right, and you just watch and say, who do you think could beat them? I mean, everyone likes the Patriots, I know that, and people like the Chargers, and I know that, but I don't know that they're better than the Colts are here tonight.
That's Reggie Bush. Last year, the Colts started 9-0. One of the amazing things that Dungy has done here through the years is they've had those great regular seasons, and then it would always own up in flames. I mean, they started 13-0 the year before that, and to get the team to keep coming back and to be as resilient and then finally win the Super Bowl. And now the way they look tonight, I mean, they're going to be among the 2 or 3 favorites to get back to the Super Bowl again.
And Tony had a couple of weeks after the Super Bowl where he wasn't sure if he was going to come
98
back.
defense. That penalty is declined. It's 1st down.
He said that, he just felt worn out, and he felt that maybe that would be the end of it, and he wouldn't coach again. And the first week he felt that, the second week, and then into the 3rd week he felt, okay, I'll do it again.
And you and I talked to Tony last night as Colston makes the catch about the late Bill Walsh, who had such phenomenal success in San Francisco, but it was a short run, all things considered, and Bill retired after the 88 season. Left George Seifert with a Super Bowl winner the following year as Reggie Bush takes it to the 45. But as we both know, John, Bill, through his dying day, regretted the fact that he retired prematurely.
Right. He said that was his biggest regret, that he retired prematurely. Said had he taken a little time off, he never would have done it. And Tony Dungy said last night he remembered that. He remembered Bill Walsh saying that, and that's why he took time.
And that's caught, and they're going to rule it incomplete to Devery Henderson. It's always dubious to retire right after a Super Bowl. I mean, ask Dick Vermeil. He wins. He comes out of nowhere. The Rams have that incredible year with Warner in '99. The next thing you know, Dick retires, and then about 2 weeks later, he thought, "Oh, wait a minute! Did I do something I shouldn't have done?"
Yeah, he wanted to come back, and he left a little meat on that bone.
Yep. And at least he was able to gnaw at that bone in Kansas City after St. Louis. But he left a pretty good team for Mike Martz. Bush and McAllister have been shut down tonight. Deuce averaging a little less than 4 yards per tote. Reggie about 3 yards per carry, and there it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's the quickness of this defense and the good tacklers.
2 minutes left. Opening night. Indy looking like champions again, 34-10. Peyton's younger brother Eli, Tony Romo, Wade Phillips taking over in Dallas. And Dallas and the Giants on Sunday night. This NFL kickoff special brought to you by the full-size Toyota Tundra, the truck that's changing it all. By new Diet Pepsi Max with ginseng and more caffeine. Wake up, people. By FedEx, go air, go ground, go football. And by Verizon Wireless. Winding down in the RCA Dome, and winding down for this dome. This is the final year the Colts will play here. Reggie Bush expressing his frustration, pounding the ball into the turf at the 47-yard line.
I think frustration is a key word, and I think it was, again, caused by this defense. I mean, this Colt defense played so well tonight that they really frustrated the Saints.
2nd down and 3. And that's caught by Patton. Speaking of the new stadium, it's right across the street or the parking lot, whatever you want to call it. There it is. I guess it looks like it's about 40 to 50% complete. Lucas Oil Field. Retractable dome. Area coverage provided by Gillette deodorant, as you saw that shot. And the pass off Patton's hand is incomplete. The Saints, speaking about upcoming schedules, next week they're still on the road. They go to Tampa Bay, division game. Then they open up against Tennessee at home, Carolina, Seattle, Atlanta, San Francisco, Jacksonville. So again, who knows what a tough game is going to be, but not that many against playoff teams. Breeze throws, intercepted, and that sort of sums up the night, doesn't it? Matt Giordano, he may go all the way to the end zone. He will. Touchdown, Indianapolis. 82 yards.
You say, what's Matt Giordano doing in there? He's the dime back. They have 5 defensive backs. That would be nickel. You put in 6, and that would be dime, and that's what Giordano is. So when he goes in, and he's like a linebacker, he would play here. I mean, he's the dime back. You take the 2 linebackers out and play him in there. And see, he's just reading Drew Brees. He's just watching his eyes. Brees looked all the way, and Giordano got it.
Both for the official score. It's an 83-yard return for the touchdown. Giordano's first ever NFL touchdown. Vinatieri for the point after. Well, it figured to be a high-scoring game. 51 points tonight. But who would have thought 41 of them from one team after a 10-10 halftime score? John, we've got a tough decision to make tonight.
Welcome back.
Now, you can always go with a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, part of me would say I would like to go with defense because that's the area that, I had the most questions about coming into this game, and I think, they really played the best. But, I mean, this offense was so good. I mean, how do you leave a Peyton Manning off or a Reggie Wayne or a Joseph Adai or I don't know. I'm kind of waffling.
there are a whole bunch of guys. I mean, it's been that kind of a night. You know, Lefay, Sanders, they've all done yeoman work. Freddie Keaho has shown that he can do the job. The corners have done masterful jobs. There's Keaho replacing the departed Cato June. I don't know. Whoever goes up there with, I don't know if it's an asterisk, but some sort of acknowledgement to the defense.
Yeah, and just acknowledgement to the whole team. I mean, this is a team that played well. I mean, they played well on special teams, on offense, on defense. They're coached well. Their fundamentals were outstanding. And that's not always true in a first regular season game.
And that's Miller running the return out of bounds.
You know, so if my vote is going to be a guy that I think played well, had to play well, a lot of pressure was on him, and I think is going to be a future star in this league. I think it's going to be one of the top 5 to 10 running backs in the league, and that would be Joseph Adai. Now, that I just have one vote. I know that, but that would be my vote.
Meanwhile, Breeze, according to our maven Ken Hurt, is on the verge of setting one of the most ignominious records in the history of the NFL. And is that a fumble? I didn't hear a whistle until after it, but it's still recovered by Johnson. Breeze tonight has averaged 6.2 yards per completion, not per attempt. Per attempt is way below that. This would be the lowest in the history of the NFL,
5-yard penalty,
with a minimum of 25 completions in the game. His longest completion tonight, 13 yards. So in the storied history of the league, for a guy who comes off a phenomenal season, starting this way is unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you play a Tampa 2 and you take what they give you. I mean, they're going to give you short underneath stuff, but they're still going to give you a pretty big pass rush. And somewhere, if you're going to play against this defense, you have to take some shots and you have to play aggressively. And you can't just dump off and take what they give you all night.
Well, he wants to get off that mark, and that's going to help him because that completion is a lot more than 6.2. It's Devery Henderson making the catch. And, well, if Chris Wenke's listening in, you're still going to hold the record because that just put Breeze above Wenke's mark.
But then, you know, when you ask the question, now these are totally different defenses now, but if you can do it to Henderson now, why didn't you do it earlier?
Decker will take it to the 25, and that's going to take everybody, well, it should take everybody to the locker room, but Breeze calls a timeout. Well, I guess if nothing else, the Saints want to take one shot at the end zone just to get some of this awful taste out of their mouths.
Or someone in the huddle could have told Breeze what you just said, that he had an NFL low record, that you don't want your name on that record.
No.
But then if they told him that, they probably should have told him, well, you're off it now.
Yeah, that's right. You got the word in too late.
Tonight was not a good night for Drew Brees, and I think that, you know, Sean Payton had to be surprised by it because, as I said earlier, Sean Payton said last night, I think Drew Brees will go like 28 for 31. I watched him in the 3rd preseason game, and he looked almost perfect in that game.
Well, he was 28 for 41, but only 192 yards, so that's less than 5 yards per attempt. Only around 7 yards per completion. This is Aaron Stecker ending the ball game, and the Indianapolis Colts send a message to the rest of the National Football League. We are the champions. Make no mistake. NBC's NFL Kickoff Special postgame show, horse trailer player of the game interviews and highlights. Coming up right after these messages from your local NBC station. 41-10 Colts.
Tonight, Jay's All New with Harry Potter's Daniel Radcliffe, Mark Cuban, an interview from Beyond, and a 99-cent shopping spree. Then Conan's All New with Will Arnett tonight on NBC.
Tonight on